Hello, friends. Welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. Welcome to the first stream of 2022. Yeah, so today we're going to be taking a look at the JavaScript rising stars of 2021. So all the libraries and frameworks that were of note in 2021. We're also going to take a look at Best of JS, which informed the rising stars. So it's going to be a good time. Essentially everything on that list, not everything, we're going to try or attempt to use things that we find on this list, because a lot of them, I'll be honest, a lot of them I didn't use in 2021, but apparently they're pretty popular. They got a lot of GitHub stars, a lot of traction, that kind of stuff. So this is what we're going to be taking a look at today. It's going to be a fun time. Welcome in, everyone. Happy 2022 to you all as well. Glad to see you. We've got a live coder friend in the chat. Check out CMJ Chris Jones. Hello, welcome in. So yeah, we'll let people trickle in and then we'll get started. We're essentially just going to go on the list from top to bottom, and as we go along, we'll try these libraries out, install them, and also if we've used these things before, then we'll just talk about them. It'll be fun. Yeah, and thank you all for the supports. Nessie with the 16 months, Goldie with the 5 months, Excavator with the 14 months, Lou with the 16 months. Okay, Not Now says, Señor CJ, buen día. ¿Puedo decir 19 meses? I don't know why I put on a deeper voice for that. What does decir mean? Decir? And puede is like, do you have? Greetings and have a nice 22. Talk. Oh, okay. Can you talk for 19 months? Is that what that says? Regardless, Kuzi, thank you for the 21 months. Pablo, thanks for the 15 months. Oh, can you say 19 months? That's what it says. Okay. Yeah, Pablo, thanks for the 15. Julian with the 19 and Sound of Gaming with the 10. Sachi says, why is my sub not showing? It could be that you renewed too soon. So like your sub still has like a day or two, and so next stream you'll be able to show it. Koozie with the gift. Thank you, Koozie. With the 5 gifted. Congrats to everyone that got gifted. Much appreciated. Yeah. Is this Web 3.0? OG? thirdweb.com. Yeah, the thing is, like, we've really never done anything with crypto on this stream, but maybe it's time. 2022 is the year to do crypto stuff. Not today, maybe. And actually, I don't even know if crypto is even mentioned on this list, but we'll see. Cool. Anybody new here? Type a smile in the chat if you're new here. Please no. And Filthy Chap, thanks for that gift. Much appreciated. To Cypher, I saw Cypher in the chat. It's been a while since I've seen Cypher. And Pablo, thank you for the 100 bits. A small cheer for the first of 2022. So there we go. Yeah, we got some first timers. Nice. Yeah. So welcome in, everyone. Pie McFly, Lilo, Yash, Bias, Macro, Lucky Charms Guy, Dead Frames, Crunsole, Codec, Kodaraman. Kodaraman. Welcome in, nice to have you. Yeah, I did hear about Faker.js. It's a very, very interesting thing. Actually, I'll talk about that first because it is relevant in the world of JavaScript. Code then Cake. Thank you for that sub. Time flies when you're having fun. I agree. Julian, thanks for the 100 bits. Milo's with the 17 months. Much appreciated. What are we doing? Get Some says, let's do it today. We're gonna try our best. We're gonna get it. But yeah, let's talk about Faker.js. Okay. Well, should we? Okay, yeah, we're gonna talk about this, but then we'll take a step back and Coder Aman. Okay, cool. So I'm going to talk about Faker.js, but then we're going to take a step back, say hello to everybody, and also for any of the new people, tell you how the whole chat and everything works. Cool. So we actually have used Faker.js here on stream. I think it was the last time we got rated by Kitboga. Oh, he did it again. Pretty sure he did it again. Wait. Is this it? Okay. No, it's just Faker. Nice, but he did it again. That's great. Okay. Because yesterday, I'll talk about everything that's happening. But I was surprised. It happened. Okay. But we've used Faker on stream before, and actually, so as you can see right now, Faker version 6.6.6 has no README. Well, it just has one sentence in it. What really happened with Aaron Schwartz? But if you take a look at one of the previous versions, which you could still install, if you do npm install at 5.5.3, you could get this version that's not blank. And we use this. Maybe it wasn't the last Kitboga raid, but one of the Kitboga raids, we built an app that like had a fake person with a fake picture and a fake name and a fake background. And we used Faker for that. So it generated a name. I think we generated like an age. This library is really good for like testing and stuff like that. Okay, so it's a cool library. It is maintained by this person named Maroc. This guy. He's also on GitHub as Maroc. And yesterday, or 2 days ago, might have been, I guess at this point, 3 days ago, he essentially removed this repo from GitHub. So npm and GitHub are two separate things, but your npm project can link to GitHub, which most projects do. He essentially wiped the Git history and force pushed a blank repo here. So if you look at Faker on GitHub, it only has one commit. It says end game, and the README just says what happened to what really happened with Aaron Schwartz. Okay, so there's a lot of background here. I will say if you I'm not going to do the best job of giving it, but if you go on YouTube, search for Fireship, he does a quick 4-minute rundown a bit of the situation in this video here. So I encourage you to go watch that. I'll give you my 2-minute version of it. So it's ultimately he just completely wiped the repo, right? And at the end of the day, like this isn't going to stop the library from being used because a lot of people had forks of it. And it actually isn't possible to wipe versions from npm if they're older than 72 hours and if they have any dependencies. So you can see like version 5.5.3 had 1.2 million downloads in the last 7 days. So a lot of people are using this thing. There would be no way for him to just overwrite this version 5.5.3 on npm with something blank. So we published a new version, 6.6.6, which actually, I mean, when I was looking at it yesterday, it looked like it got unpublished, which I took issue with because it wasn't unpublished by him. It was unpublished by the npm organization, and they technically have the right to do that. It's their thing. But regardless, okay, first of all, Aaron Schwartz, internet activist. He's all about open data and openness and open source. He was all about. He sadly passed away. There's a really good documentary about him called The Internet's Own Boy. You should watch it. It's very horrible and scary and like demoralizing that something like this could happen to someone who was so prolific in the open source community. He's the guy, like, there's a lot of people behind these different technologies, but he was on the committee for RSS, the really simple syndication. He helped form the Creative Commons, and he was one of the original founders of Reddit. He's huge on the web and open source. But check out this documentary. There's a whole backstory. Yeah, but he was all about openness, and ultimately, it was said that he committed suicide. But there's a lot behind the story itself. Also, I'm taking a lot longer than 2 minutes to even talk about this. But ultimately, it's a little fishy around his death. So a lot of people think that he actually didn't commit suicide. And that's basically what Marok is saying here. So really, like, look into the Aaron Schwartz story. I realize I'm rambling at this point. Regardless, he did this. He wiped the repo. He published version 6.6.6. So now if you attempt to just npm install Faker, you're going to get this blank version. You actually can't use the library. That's it. Anything else I should say about that? Yeah, my face is a lot bigger than usual. It is. I'll show you really quick how you could install it, but also you can check him out on... Oh yeah, I guess the other thing I'll mention is Marok has been very vocal in the past about open source and about how a lot of corporations will depend on open source projects, and ultimately the open source maintainers make no money from those projects. And it's a dilemma. We can look up Marok open source. There was a GitHub issue, I believe, on Faker a while back that talked about it. But yeah, ultimately, so that was he was very big into open source, but also like not really getting any compensation for all of the work that he was doing, which happens because a lot of corporations will use open source stuff. I mean, and depending on the project and the licenses, if it just has the MIT license on it, technically corporations are allowed to do that, even though they're using it for profit. There are other open source licenses you could use that would present legal hurdles if a corporation tried to use your project and didn't use the same license in their project, that kind of thing. So he was very vocal about that. I think that has a lot to do with why the thing was unpublished to begin with. But yeah, that's a thing. Okay. Yeah, and so that's the other thing. So he pushed version 6.6.6, and then when anybody tried to install Faker, they would just get this blank version that doesn't even work. Like it just has a README inside of it. And then and so if you watch that Fireship video, that's basically what the guy from Fireship did. He installed it. He got version 6.6.6, didn't work, and he talked about it. But yesterday I was trying to look for it, and NPM had actually unpublished version 6.6.6. And if you look at the NPM Unpublish Policy, if a package was published less than 72 hours ago and nothing in the NPM public registry depends on that package, it can be unpublished by the publisher. So the person that is in charge of this account in this specific project, they are allowed to unpublish something themselves if something they published isn't depended on by anyone and it was less than 72 hours ago. But after 72 hours, there are other stipulations on if it can be unpublished. Now, Marok did not unpublish it. NPM unpublished it because it was gone. But apparently it's back. So I don't know if he did it again or if NPM was like, oh, we probably shouldn't have done that. I don't know. Yeah, and so that's another thing I didn't want to talk about his personal life. But if you look up Marok, there was some news, I think from 2020. There was a fire at his house. When they came to investigate, there was stuff that could be potentially used for making bombs. So he has a rough past. He potentially, I'm not gonna get into it, but yeah. Okay. And then BlushDev says, shouldn't NPM not be allowed to do that? I mean, he actually did have a good reason to do so. He wasn't getting paid for it, so he didn't find a monetary motivation to continue the project. Yeah, and so, I mean, that's all I was saying, and that's kind of what I was mad about yesterday is, how can NPM just go and unpublish this version based on the grounds that it's blank? Like, he's allowed to do that. It's his project, and it's not like he... So, I mean, he actually did a good thing because he could have published version 5.5.4, which would actually have created a lot more issues depending on how people pinned their dependency of Faker. But he published an entire major bump. So it's a bit easier for people that are dependent on this project to just skip that version and like pin it to version 5. So I am glad that version 6.6.6 is back. I am glad about that. Tracer says, we developers doomed ourselves. We work day and night and really headless. We are the most liberal community out there, and we are played with easily. Yeah, I think like there are things we can do. There are open source licenses we can use, and like there have been companies started that are based on open source technologies, but they find a way to make money from it. But yeah, let's look at the specific issue he opened a while back, just talking about it. So. Respectfully, I'm no longer going to support Fortune 500s and other smaller sized companies with my free work. There isn't much else to say. Take this as an opportunity to send me a 6-figure yearly contract or fork the project and have something else work on it. I mean, they have a point, but there are other ways to go about it. Like if you look at like Evan Yu, and this is not a criticism of Maroc. All I'm saying is there are ways to go about it. You can work on open source and still make money. So if you look at Evan Yu, who is the creator and maintainer of Vue.js, he has a Patreon. And he has 139 patrons and makes $15,000 a month just from Patreon. So he does open source for a living and makes money somehow. So it's possible, but also there are issues with companies using stuff for free, that kind of thing. Yeah. And the last tweet seems like he's talking about how npm reverse. Well, yeah. If you look at his Twitter, this is what I was worried about yesterday. So yesterday is when npm reverted it. They removed version 6.6.6. It's apparently back now. But then also the other weird thing is that GitHub suspended his access. I mean, we don't know if he was doing anything else besides just force pushing and overwriting commit history. Like that's not against the terms of service, is it, to overwrite a GitHub repository? But they suspended him for some reason. So yeah, it's really lame. NPM will do stuff like this to ensure the integrity of the platform. Can't have angry developers pushing out updates that break half the internet. That is one thing, but also like why do we have a system where one person is potentially able to break half of the internet? Like, doesn't that mean there's something wrong with how we're doing things? I don't know. Law says, is there any kind of licensing? Like if a company makes X dollars, it is liable for paying the author of the open source libraries that they're depending on? Well, I'm not going to get too into open source, but if you look at like open source licenses, specifically the one that I'm thinking of that would legally require a company to not make money off the software or make their own software have the same license is the GPL, the GNU Public License, because it's known. It is what's known as like a viral license, where like if you make a project and you put the GNU Public license on it, it says that if someone uses your source code in their project also has to have the GPL license on it. And then there are some stipulations about making money from it in that license. Can't find it here. But something like the MIT license or the Apache 2.0 license, those are kind of just like, you can take my source code and do whatever you want with it. There's no stipulation like that in there. I couldn't find any mention on why npm unpublished it. Yeah, and I mean, if you think back to a few years ago with the whole left pad incident, that's when they introduced the these unpublishing policies, because I believe left pad got unpublished, which broke a ton of projects. Yeah. So it used to be that anybody could unpublish any version, but now they made it so that if that version is depended on by certain projects on npm itself, you can't unpublish it. Yeah, they blocked him. Yeah, let's take a drink. Cheers, everyone. This is a weird way to start the stream, but it is interesting to talk about. So yeah. Let's do like one clash of code near the end of the stream. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a tricky situation. Yeah, I don't want to get into the specifics of like his situation and everything like that. It is tricky. That's all I'll say. It's tricky. And thanks for that focus mode, John. We'll use that to introduce the Rising Stars JS thing. Yeah. And Happy New Year, Kajal. You got a job. Congrats. And Unfair, thanks for the sub. GitHub has the right to just do whatever they want with your account and code without any notice. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying, like, what did he do to deserve getting blocked access to GitHub? You know, like, yeah, they're a corporation. I mean, they have a terms of service. They can pretty much do whatever they want. I'm not saying anything against that. I'm just saying, what did he do to deserve it? Yeah. That's true. I mean, maybe he got unblocked. I don't know. And what's up, the Shivas? Happy New Year. Welcome in. Yeah, so the library we're talking about that broke the web a couple of years ago, or a few years ago at this point, was LeftPad. Yeah. Oh, that's cool, Drunk Time Lord. So Drunk Time Lord is saying, the company I'm working with deals with code analysis. I'm thinking of a way to analyze dependencies and figure out how much you depend on which library, and then you can donate your funds in that ratio to its creators. That's pretty cool. I like that. But the thing is, like, at the end of the day, are the corporations even going to donate to those projects? Yeah. And what's up, Trash Dev? Welcome in. Check out Trash Dev. Click that link. And Tub Tutor, thank you for the sub. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, the stream started, I mean, technically 35 minutes ago. I've only been here for about 20 minutes. Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about Astro today, and I think I might try it because I didn't try it the entire year of 2021, and people talked a lot about Astro. It's true. Yeah, I mean, that could have been the situation. Like, oh, did his account get hacked? And so we're going to unpublish this 6.6.6 version. That could have been what happened. And then when they realized it didn't get hacked, they put it back because it's, I mean, I was going to say it's within his rights. I don't even know if it's within his rights to publish whatever version he wants. Because it's NPM. They're a corporation. They set the rules. Yeah. It's tricky to rock around? Yes. Oh, you're welcome, Platinum. We're going to talk about Vue today. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of open source maintainers that feel the same way about, like, basically it's a thankless job. And I mean, right now it's reminding me of the XKCD, how maintainer, like, all projects are, yeah, here it is. All modern digital infrastructure. You know, it's like these blocks built on top of each other. A project some random person in Nebraska has been thanklessly maintaining since 2003. Like, it's true. It's true. Yeah. DXV says, I've been in the software bootcamp for some time now, and I'm worried about forgetting important concepts while I focus on a specific thing like front end. Is it common? Do y'all think practicing every day is essential to keeping the skill set? I think so. I think the main thing that you should focus on is the concepts and solidifying those concepts, not necessarily, I mean, and you talk about that, important concepts. Not necessarily the syntax or how a specific library is used. If you understand the general programming concepts, then no matter what you do or where you go in the programming world, you can take those concepts with you. So I would say, like, don't focus on memorizing all of the methods in a specific library or something like that. Just focus on the programming concepts. But I think it is necessary to practice to make sure you don't lose it or forget it. Yeah. We're going to talk about Astro. Yeah. And I have tried Nuxt. We'll probably show a quick app with it. Yeah. I haven't had green hairs for a long time, but welcome, 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 welcome. Yeah. I have not heard of NX. Do you think it's become hard for newbies to enter the open source world? I think it's become easier. I mean, it could be hard to get your contributions merged in, but literally anyone can create a GitHub account or a GitLab account or a Codeberg account or whatever you use and make a pull request. Like literally anyone. you the person watching right now could do that. And I mean, if you make a pull request, you're in the open source world. I think from the aspect of like starting a new project that people actually use, maybe, I mean, that's just hard to begin with, not just for newbies, because you have to make something that people are interested in and they find useful. I don't know. Yeah, and Father Condor is saying to earlier, the person that asked about remembering concepts. They say, I'm a senior dev and I still Google simple things almost every day. You'll remember the things you use most often. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and that's another example of like an open source project trying to I just saw this comment from American 2050. I will start even faker. So it's even more fake than the other faker. Yeah, I mean, if you look around on Reddit and all these different posts and stuff, some people have tried to start like a community version of Faker. But I think like, here's the thing. This library isn't necessarily something that needs to be updated or bug fixed frequently, right? I mean, not to the discredit of the author or anything like that. It's just the nature of the library itself, because it generates fake data. And you typically would use this like in your tests. It's not like your main app is dependent on something like this. So does it really even need a maintainer? I mean, at this point, it could just be used, right? I don't know. And yeah, Tailwind tried to make money, or I guess they are making money, from their open source library by creating a paid version that's like a collection of components that you can use that use the Tailwind CSS classes. Yeah. And what's up, BTR? We're going to talk about Remix today. It's on the list. Okay, we got to get into it though. We got to get into it. Yeah. Yeah, this is a good sentiment though. Talking about like being in a boot camp. In a boot camp, you're learning to be an X-end dev, front end, back end. You're not learning to be a React dev. I mean, you might think of it that way, but it really isn't, because in the programming world, things change constantly. I mean, it's not likely that React is going to go away. It's kind of here to stay for a while. That said, you could learn React, and like that's how you learn to build front-end websites, but then get hired at a place that does Vue or something like that. So I have not done the hellos. Hello, American 2050. That's the first project we're going to look at. It is. Okay, we got to get into this. I'm behind. I'm behind. I'm going to read a few more comments and then we'll get started. You're Funny says, the issue with open source is that the structure is broken. You create an open source project because you want to share it with people who can find it usable. But then if it grows enough, you kind of become a slave of it while others make their money. Sure, but you also don't have to maintain it. Like a lot of open source projects are maintained by employees of some larger corporation. So like you could pass off the maintenance to them. You also could just not listen to any of their requests and only make the updates that you want to make. So I wouldn't say that I think that it's broken. I think that it's possible to get lost in it, right? Because like this project is your baby, and companies and people are dependent on it, so you want to make them happy and you want them to like your library. But at the end of the day, like if you're not really getting anything from it, like if you can't live off of it, then you probably shouldn't be spending your time on it. Find something else. I mean, I don't know. Good question, Yash. I would say check out, there's a video I did a while back on how to contribute to open source. This one. No, that's not it. That one, this is a good one if you're interested in like, what does open source even mean? Check out this video. but this one. So in this one, I show how do you find an open source project? How do you look through issues? And like what's the etiquette of like contributing to an open source project? So yeah, cool. All right, I'm gonna skip all these chats. I appreciate you all for being here, but we're gonna get into it right now, right here, right now. We're gonna talk about JavaScript Rising Stars. And what's up, Murdoch? Welcome in. Let's get rid of all this. I'm gonna try to somehow cut this into a YouTube video. Here's the thing, it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be pretty rambly as well, because as we come across various projects, we're going to try to use them. We're going to install them. We're going to just take a quick look at them. Yeah. And what's up, Lakshman? No, I don't have the time. We got to get right into it. I appreciate you all for being here, though. Let's do it. Hello, friends. Welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. Welcome to 2021 JavaScript Rising Stars. So this is an article and a list that was created and maintained by Michael Rambo. So Michael Rambo has created bestofjs.org. So you can go to this website. You can see what libraries are trending based on like GitHub stars. You can see featured projects, popular projects, that kind of thing. It's a really cool list. I actually only found out about it whenever I found the JavaScript Rising Stars article. So definitely check out both of these websites. But what we're going to do is just take a look through the 2021 JavaScript Rising Stars list. And as we come across libraries that I haven't heard of or didn't use, we're going to try them. And it's going to be a fun time, so let's get into it. The first part of this list is the most popular projects overall. And the top three were ZX, which is a tool for writing better scripts. Vite was number 2, which is the next generation front-end tooling. So this is a tool for creating front-end websites. It's somewhat similar to something like Webpack, but very different and cooler and better. And then Next.js, which is a React framework for doing server-side rendering or static site generation, that kind of thing. So those were the top 3. And the top one is ZX, which I had not heard of until I read this list, but it looks really, really cool. Let's take a look at it on GitHub. Ultimately, it's a scripting language that lets you mix like bash scripting or like Linux commands with JavaScript. So check it out. So you could create a script that says execute this with ZX. You can await just a straight up bash command or Linux command, right? So you run cat of this, rep for the name, and that's just going to run that command. I don't see any examples here. Oh, here it is. I was going to say, like, how do we get the output of it? But yeah, you could just await it, and then the output of that you could put into a variable, and then you just mix that with, like, other JavaScript, right? And so this is like a promise all of some sleeps. I don't know what it's pronounced as. Is it Zex or ZX? I don't know. But it looks cool. And let's try it. So I think what I want to do is I want to write a script that like clones a Git repo and installs dependencies. So let's do it. So I think I have the latest node, so that should be good. Write your scripts in a file with an MJS extension. Yeah, so because then you can use await at the top level. That makes sense. And otherwise, you'd have to wrap it in an async iffy. Add the following shebang at the beginning of your scripts. So if you're not familiar with scripting in a Linux-like environment, typically you could write a Python script or a Bash script or even a Node script, and you put this at the top so that when you're executing the script, the operating system knows what program to use to execute it. Yeah, so then you give your script execution, not privileges. You make the script executable is what you do with Chmod, and then you can just run it or use ZX. Huh? Let's do it. Okay. I have a folder here, JS Year in Review 2021. We're going to go in here to this ZX example and just try using it. the thing is, instead of installing it globally, I'm actually just going to install it in the project because I should be able to just like run an npm task to start it up. So we're just going to init this to create a package JSON. Yeah, it's like node meets bash. What I really like about it is like the being able to just await like a Linux command. It's really cool. Okay, so this is my package JSON. We're gonna install ZX. Yeah, and thanks for that link, Julian. If any mod is here, could you create a command that links to it? Oh yeah, and we'll go into focus mode. So we've got 2 focus mode redemptions. We'll do focus mode for 16 minutes while I attempt to use this library. What's the command? Isn't it? I haven't used it in so long. Oh well, just know that I'm going to attempt to focus for the next 16 minutes. But first, let me make sure I just thank everyone. Milos with the 17 months, Unfair with the 19, Tube Tutor with the sub, and George with the 13 months. Thank you all for those supports. Do I even bot? I don't know. What's the command? Should I even? I'm gonna look up the command. Just a moment. I mean, apparently I am in focus mode, but my overlay doesn't think so. Oh well, it's fine. It's fine. That was an Office Space reference. Here we go. Okay, so we have installed ZX as a dependency. Great. So I'm going to go ahead and create a file here. I'm just going to call it index.js. And we'll follow the README. So I need to first put this at the top. And then let's try to clone a Git repo. So this is one of the cool things is, so because you're using a template literal here, well, it's not, I mean, yeah, it is a template literal actually. But yeah, because you're using a template literal, you can just put JavaScript variables into your commands. So if I'm doing something like this, oh yeah, and I should call this an imjs. Like that. Because then I can do top level await. I could do something like Git Clone and then slash something like project name. Something like this. So this is what I'm thinking. Like we're going to create a command line tool where I could do something like get it. And then something like coding garden / project name. And this file will clone this project from GitHub and then do an npm install. That's basically what we're going to build right now. So first of all, how do we get args in Node.js? Process.env. I just searched for Node.js. Process.env.argv. Is that what it is? Yeah, process.argv is going to give us an array of arguments that were passed in. So like bash, yeah. So I could say something like project name equals that. But if we think about it, we're going to have the ZX and then the name of the script and then the project name. Right? Let's just see what we get if I do this. Okay, so if we do we'll have a start script. This will just be ZX index.js. So if I do npm start wow/wow, that's not right. Wait, what? Oh, I'm in the, I'm in the wrong folder. I just started up my bot. That's why I was like, what's happening? Npm start wow/wow. Okay. Cannot find module ZS example index.js. Good call, Leo time. I called it MJS, not JS. Okay, let's try this. Nice. Okay, so it's working. It's working. So basically, we run our script, which ultimately becomes ZX, the name of the file, and then some project name. Yeah. Okay, so we're in it. It's happening. So now at this point, we could do something like a Git clone with the project name. So Git clone github.com/project name. I wonder if this throws an error. How we're gonna see it. So like this await, this Git clone, like if I put in a project name that isn't valid, will the Git clone just fail? Let's see. So we're gonna attempt to put something in that doesn't exist. And it wants my GitHub username. Why? I guess if a project isn't found, then it gives us a 404. Why do you keep putting backdoor, Bob? What do you mean? What you talking about? Let's use SSH instead of HTTPS. Let's see. Yeah, it's I'm doing a destructuring there. I'll talk about it in just a second. What's a good project that I can just actually? I know one on my personal. So if I go to here, Express API starter. I mean, this is kind of what I would use this for, because I have a tool on npm called Create Express API. And it basically just does a clone of this repo. So we're kind of just going to be recreating that. But yeah, the thing is, if we do SSH, what if they don't have their SSH keys set up? We could put let me put a .git on the end of it. I don't want it to ask for my credentials. I guess it only asks for it if it's not found, because if it's not found, it could be that you don't have the rights to it. I think it would actually do the same thing with SSH instead of just saying not found. Right? Okay, cool. This fails, which I like, though I just don't know if this would work on everyone's machine, which I guess it doesn't matter. We're really just demonstrating this thing. Okay, so at this point, we clone it, and then actually, let's say we also want to give it an optional folder name. So yeah, we'll do something like this. If folder name is a thing, then use it, otherwise that. Which also we could just do this. So if you specify a folder name, that's what it's going to clone it into. So let's do it for real this time. So if I attempt to clone Express API starter into testing. Yeah, so it's going to create a directory called testing, and then testing is the Git clone. Great. Oh yeah, let me describe what's happening here. So if we look at process.argv, that has all the arguments of the command that was run. Let's remove that testing directory and do it again. So if we look at argv, it's an array of all of the arguments that were used to run this script. The first argument is always like the program, so it's node, zx, and then the name of the file, and then we have the arguments that I care about, so the actual project name and then the folder name. So this is an array with these multiple values inside of it, and this right here is destructuring, but I'm basically saying I don't care about the first 3 arguments in the array. I want the 4th one. And so that's what these blank commas are doing. I could name them something. It could be like executable name, program name, and then file name. Like technically I could do this and then I have all of these variables, but I don't care about these 3. So I just do commas. And that basically just skips over them and then puts the 4th one into the project name variable. Yeah. Okay, so we've cloned it. At this point, I want to cd into it and install dependencies. And so I'll do this folder name. Well, okay, here's the issue. If they didn't specify a folder name, then it's going to be the project name after the slash. So, I guess we'll just create a variable called actual folder name. And that's going to be folder name or project name split on the slash at 1. Like that. And the reason I did that is because now I want to cd into the actual folder name, and then do an npm install. And actually, like another thing I would do. Let's see if this works though. And I'm also going to print the working directory because I would think that if I do a file system.base name. I mean, I could do that. We're gonna leave it at that. This is not production ready. We would have to do a lot of adjusting of it. Okay, but what I'm thinking is if we do a cd, that should put us into that folder that we created, and then I'm just gonna do a print working directory to make sure that the next command is being run from within that other directory, because it could be that after this runs, we're not actually, it didn't execute it in our current shell. It was like a sub shell, and we're still in the same directory. So let's actually see what happens. And for now, just to test it, we're gonna do this a mkdir of the folder name. Oh. Yeah, so you'll notice that I said cd into the testing directory, but then when I ran print working directory, it's my current directory. So it is as I suspected. Each of these is a subshell that like doesn't modify your current shell. So what I kind of need to do is cd and npm install, because that will go into the directory and then do an npm install. And then let's just log a message. Done. To use your project, cd into the actual folder name. Yeah, that's about it. If this is asynchronous, won't the log come out first? No, because we're awaiting it. So we're using top level await here. Technically, if I wasn't in this MJS file, so MJS is a module file, and the latest version of Node.js, or at least the version that I'm using, so I'm using version 16. The latest version is 17, but this has been supported since version 14. Ultimately, if you do .mjs, you can use top level await without a feature flag. So yeah, this actually will run afterwards because of the await. Yeah. Check the callback of CD instead of an. I don't know, because the main issue is I need to run npm install from within that directory. And I don't think there's a way to do an npm install of a subdirectory, is there? There could be. That's probably be the better way to do it. But at this point, I think we have it. And yeah, NFG Codex is saying, is this just a wrapper of child process? It's sort of. It does a lot more than that, because child process isn't that easy. There's a lot of hoops you have to jump through to do something like this. Okay, so let's see if it will work. So it should clone it. It should install dependencies, and then it's done. So now if we go in here, I could do an npm run dev. Yeah, and I need to change the port, but I mean, let's do that just to show you. It cloned it. Cool. So yeah, it cloned it and installed dependencies. All right, so we did it. That's pretty much all I'm gonna do. For this example, but ultimately this is really cool. Like if you look at how you would do this without ZX, you do have to jump through a lot of hoops, and it seems like this is potentially a lot more cross-platform compatible, I would say. I don't know. Looks cool. I'm not surprised that this is the top library. What is this folder called? Top library in 2021. JS year in review. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Theo. Says nice code. Awesome. So that was the top library of 2021. Looks cool. Looks really, really cool. And I will potentially use it in future projects that need to do like terminal commands and stuff like that. Yeah. Anyone have thoughts or comments on this library? Because it's cool. I like it. Yeah. Can it also catch values and store them in JS variables, like the results of less or things like that? Yeah. So, I mean, I'm absolutely not showing all of the things you can do with it. But yes, yeah, check it out. So if I do something like, at this point, we're just going to test some stuff out. So if I do dir stuff, is await of ls-l a. So this will print all files with their information, with their permissions and access time, and also all hidden files. And then I'm going to put that result into dir stuff. And then if I log this out, look at that. So, oh, that's interesting. It gives us back an object. So an object that has a standard out property and a standard error property. I like that. Because I guess the other thing we could do is we could wrap this in a try catch. And if that through an error, we could have the error output as well. Yeah. The $, is custom syntax. So this is being run with ZX. Like it's specifically ZX is interpreting this file. Ultimately, Node is running it, but that's one way to think about this. Like they've introduced some new syntax here, and that's because this ZX process is going to essentially like the $sign is jQuery. It's going to kind of like compile or transpile our file so that it can be run by Node.js. And that's what that $sign just says, that there's some scripting going to happen here. It likely could be it could be a template function as well. That's probably what it is, instead of a like a transpiler. This is probably a template function that ultimately does like a child process thing. Yeah. Oh yeah. So my package.json just does a ZX with the file name. Now, if you look at their documentation, they do say you should install it globally, like this. And then once we've installed it globally from the command line, I actually could just do / the name of the file and just run it like any other script. I didn't want to do that for whatever reason. I didn't feel like installing it globally, which is why I'm doing it like this, because it is a dependency here. I can reference it here without the need to install it globally. Okay, yeah, so that's enough of that. Cool library. Let's keep moving. So this also talks about other utility libraries that were popular. So there's NodeFetch, FSExtra, and Globby. We've used NodeFetch a lot on stream, though more recently we just go back to Axios. But NodeFetch is cool because it allows you to use the fetch API within Node.js. And fetch is something that's built into web browsers, so it's nice that you can use the same API on both. But yeah, I mainly have just been falling back to Axios, mainly because it has error handling, and it has a lot of extra stuff that just fetch itself doesn't give you. So yeah, I don't think I've used FSExtra, so it gives us a lot of extra functions we can use for file system manipulation. So like copy, remove, make directories. Yeah, why? Got tired of including these in most of my projects. Yeah. So this could be useful. I haven't really used it much though. Cool. The number 2 project of the year, Vite. I think we should at least just generate a project with Vite so I can show you it. But it's a build tool that uses ESBuild to provide great performance. So if we just check out Vite, initially it was just for Vue.js, and this was created by Evan Yu and is maintained by, I believe, the people that maintain Vue. But they also have templates for other things as well. So you actually don't have to just generate a Vue app. You can generate a React app or a Preact app or a Lit app. I am going to generate a React app just because. So if I'm using npm, I can do npm init vite latest, and then tell it to use React. Let's try it. My Vite React app. So it'll have to install it really quick. Wow, so that was really fast. But ultimately, it's going to clone down a template. And then now we'll do that npm install. And actually, I mean, behind the scenes, it kind of did what we just did. It did a clone of a repo, I'm pretty sure. And then now let's try npm run dev. When's the last time your React app started up that fast? So one of the really cool things that it does is it doesn't have to do a lot of the transpilation that something like Webpack does. It was fast. Yeah, you can't tell me that wasn't fast. So with something like Webpack, to even start up the app, every single file needs to be run through your build process. So it potentially needs to be transpiled from TypeScript to JavaScript or from JSX to JavaScript. It needs to be potentially minified. What else? Yeah, there's just a lot of processing that happens to get it to run inside of the web browser. But Vite does the smallest amount needed. So instead of having to do that entire compilation process, because the web browser already supports JavaScript modules and a lot of other things that don't need to be transpiled, it just uses those features. Like if we look at the source of the web page, and Code Then Cake with the gift. Thank you for the 10 gift. Oh, much appreciated. And there's some other supports. Kuiper with the Prime sub and Harriet with the 5 months. Says, love watching you. Makes my week that bit better. Glad to be here. Thank you for being here. Sorry, not glad to be here. But also, thank you, Code Then Cake, for the 10 gifted. Wow. Okay, we're talking about Vite. If you look at the source of the page, it's just linking this file, which is a .jsx. However, all of this is code that can be run directly in the web browser. So you can have import statements in JavaScript in the web browser. That's a thing. You just have to have script type module. So yeah, that's why it's so fast. So that's really cool. Vite is great. We didn't really show the code here. But the main thing to show is that it's a build process and it does special things to make your stuff fast. And this is interesting here, though, too. So, like, this is your main index file. You're just linking that source main tx or main JSX. And then the rest of it is just a React app like you're used to. So, yeah. And what's up, Umheck? Thanks for being here. What's up, Limotes? Are they really using var? Well, that's the transpiled version. So there was some transpilation that had to happen. Yeah, and so yeah, it definitely, it would be a replacement for something like Webpack. Yep. You have plugins and stuff like that. Okay, so that's all I'll show of it, but yeah, Vite is cool. All right, what else do we got? In 5th place, Tari is a solution to build desktop applications using web technologies. This is something I am interested in. So let's check it out. We've built Electron apps and desktop apps here on the show before, but one of the biggest complaints that most people have about Electron is the fact that, excuse me, I'm adjusting, but is the fact that a hello world is going to be something like 60, 70 megabytes because an Electron app, when it's bundled, includes its own copy of Chromium and includes its own copy of the Node.js runtime. So, and apps are really, really big. Tari, on the other hand, does not do that. I believe, is it Rust or is it Go? Yeah, it's written in Rust, and it doesn't ship Node.js with every application. I want to spin up a quick desktop app. Yeah, it uses Rust. Let's do it. Let's get started. So a polyglot generic system that is very composable and allows engineers to make a wide variety of applications. Set up for Mac. Let's see. I should have GCC already. I should have that. I have NVM. Yep. I'm going to need Rust C and Cargo. And then we add Tari to our project. I'm just going to look through this to see how involved it is. I'm pretty sure I want to create a Tari app. You have to do a Cargo install. We have the app. All right. The Vue CLI plugin. If you're using the Vue CLI, it is recommended to use the Vue official. Whoa. Okay. Start my dev server. Start the development window. Do I have to write Rust? Right? Shouldn't I be able to just it depends. So I want to build an app with JavaScript. Yeah, that's what I want to do. So you don't have to. Yeah, I don't want to write Rust. I want to write JavaScript. So we have the setup. I mean, does it give me info on like components that I can use for like buttons and stuff like that, or can I just create a web view? Any component library I want. Well, sure. Okay. I appreciate all that, but this isn't really telling me how to do that. So do I want understanding Tory patterns? Yeah, that's all I want is a hello world. Like, just give me a native desktop window. Read the getting started. Welcome to Tari. Anything that can be displayed on a website can be displayed in a Tari WebView app. Developers are free to build the web front end displayed in a web view through Tari with any web framework of their choice. Developers can even extend the default API with their own functionality and bridge the web view and Rust-based backend easily. Okay. Steps. Install and configure the system prereqs. That's what we're going to do. Create a web app with your front-end framework of choice. Okay. Use the Tari CLI to set up Tari in your app. Oh, so this is saying, like, I could create a Vue.js app and then install Tari within the Vue app. And that would allow me to run that Vue app within Tari. Okay. I'm gonna commit. So we're gonna do it. We're gonna set it up for a Mac. I believe I already have all this stuff. This is gonna take a bit. I'm gonna do a brew update. Ionic for, yeah, I mean, this is it's like Electron. So Electron helps you build desktop apps with web technologies. So yeah. But yeah, Discord is an Electron app. VS Code is an Electron app. You can build really cool things with Electron. But it will be interesting to see, like, how small of a binary we can get for just like a Vue app. Yeah. Maybe use a pre-existing app we have to use in desktop. What do you mean by that? Like something we built with Electron before? Yeah. Here we go. Okay, brew is good to go. I think I should already have GCC. If anything, it's gonna install the latest version. Oh, guess not. Entropy Chat isn't ready for Tari. Entropy Chat is an app we started working on a while back. It is a web app and an Electron app, but it has a ways to go. How far behind is a PWA to Electron? Well, it's a weird question, but let me explain why. So, I mean, a progressive web app technically does give you access to more native-like features, right? But the real question is how far behind are, I guess, something like web browsers to Electron, but also they'll never will be complete feature parity, because the web browser needs to be a sandboxed and secured environment, right? Like, you don't want to just be able to go to any website and then that website have instant access to your file system. That would be a security nightmare, right? Which is why there are things like the file system API, but it only works in certain scenarios where you've given this web page or this website specific access to your file system. And then there are certain things that only run on desktop or only run in a Node.js environment that wouldn't run in a browser. So that's really what something like Electron gives you. Whereas all of the other native features that you might be using in your app, like the camera or like location or file system access, you could do on the web with using certain APIs. So I don't think PWAs will ever be like a full replacement for something like a desktop app that has full file system access. Yeah, for certain applications, a PWA would be perfectly fine to use, and you could do everything that you need to do. But there are certain things that you just can't do with a PWA or with web APIs. Yeah. Yeah. And Nikki Poo, thanks for the sub. Were there other supports? Yeah, Mike Broody with the 15 months. Thank you very much for the support. Okay, do we have GCC? It's installing. Yeah, this is the Rising Stars article. There you go. Did we do it out of order? Yeah, this wanted me to do GCC first, but GCC is telling me I need to do this. Hello, 0x45. Welcome in. While our stuff is installing, compiling, how are you all doing? How is your week? How's your 2022 so far? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Timon says, or Timon says, doing good. Currently working on my own style framework. Nice. Oh yeah, I mean, while we're talking about styling, because I found this website, I found Pico Css, which is very interesting to me. I don't think I'm going to talk about it today because it's not JavaScript, but this is something that I wanted to exist for a very long time, and I'd never seen it before. It's essentially default CSS styles for everything without adding any CSS classes. And it yeah, that's it. So if we do something like, if you look at the preview, if you add Pico CSS to your site, it just makes stuff look good by default. Like, this is literally just an input with a probably a placeholder, and this is literally just a button, and this is just a checkbox with roll slider or whatever this thing is, and everything just looks good by default. So yeah, next time we build a website, I'm going to definitely use Pico instead of something like Bootstrap. Do we have example? Yeah. So for example, I mean, if you look at the little GIF with a soft G on their homepage, you can see, like, so we have a label, we put an input inside of it, and then now you do that. Yeah, so it's classless. There are some classes, but ultimately you just add it to your page, and it just applies default styles to all the elements on your page. I haven't seen Uno CSS. Oh, the Uno CSS is very different, but still cool. So if you like Tailwind, I'll say that if you like Tailwind, you're gonna love Uno CSS. I don't like Tailwind, and so I don't see a need for, and I don't like Uno CSS. But basically, Uno CSS is a way for you to pick and choose the specific utilities that you want in your CSS utility library, and also generate them dynamically. Is really cool, but I don't like Tailwind. I just don't like. I I don't. That's it. That's all I'll say about that. And Milky Dev, how's it going, friend? Thanks for being here. Click that link, drop a follow on Milky Dev. Hopefully you're doing all right. It's cool to see that staff badge. Have you been in the chat with that badge before? Maybe you have. It's just been a while. Thanks for being here. Yeah. Is this a problem if you want to create a custom button style because you have to override every style with important? You wouldn't necessarily have to use important, but basically, if you wanted to override the button style, just don't use Pico Css. Like you would want to use something else. One thing you can do is, I was looking in their docs, you can essentially pull in their Sass files. I believe it's Sass. And then you can do some overwriting of their default template and make your own default template from it. So that's a possibility as well. Yeah. We should mention Anthony Fu, Vue and Vite core team, and Windy CSS. We can talk about him, yeah. Because we've already shown Vite. We showed Vite. We're probably going to talk about some other Vue stuff today as well. Oh, this is the guy that did Nano CSS, right? Or Uno CSS, sorry. Uno. Yeah. What's up, Coder Koala? I'm not hating on Tailwind. I'm just saying I don't like it. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying you shouldn't use it. I'm saying I don't like it, and I don't use it. Happy New Year's, Milky Dev. Thanks for being here. Yeah. And what's up, Frey Dumazi? Thanks for being here. I've been doing web development for a long time. Long time. That's my answer to that. What does the CSSer call a CSS framework written in Sass? Sassy. Okay, at this point, we should have GCC, and we don't. We do not yet have GCC. So I'm gonna keep moving through the article, and we'll come back to this and try out Tari once all that has installed. Okay. This is something else I wanted to try out as well. So the special pick in the most popular projects overall is Astro. So I've heard about it. I haven't used it. But basically it's a way of doing static site generation, but I believe also like server-side rendered apps. And it makes it so there's a lot less JavaScript on the page. I think that's one of the main things. Let's take a quick stretch. Astro. Build faster websites with less client-side JavaScript. It has this idea of islands. So let's see. While we're at it, it's time to accept that the framework wars won't have a winner. That's why Astro lets you use any framework you want or none at all. And if most sites only have islands of interactivity, shouldn't our tools optimize for that? So the idea is like you can build a site in a way that only certain sections have and use JavaScript, and they call these islands. So I mean, it kind of like is the idea of components, but each island actually could potentially be standalone. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I probably didn't do a good job of explaining that, but let's just generate an Astro app and see what happens. The easiest way is to do npm init astro in a new directory on your machine. And we're just going to go with, I guess, the base template. So let's do it. Okay, which template would you like to use? I want the starter kit, the blog, documentation. Yeah, we'll go with the starter kit. What framework would you like to use? Okay, let's use Vue. Did I do the wrong thing? I think I didn't do the spacebar. Let's try it again. Yeah, we're gonna use Vue. You press spacebar to check. Okay, here we go. And what's up, ability? We're taking a look at the 2021 Rising Stars list. So if you do ! rising-stars, you can see the article. It's basically a rundown of all the popular JavaScript libraries from 2021. Okay, so we've got it. We're going to do an npm install. It's multi-select. Oh, so that's the idea of islands as well, is you could have a little React island and a little Vue island and a little Svelte island. That's cool. We'll just get it going with Vue. Let's see what happens. So what I think is funny is the fact that of all the top items in this list here, I've only used 2 of them. I've used Next.js and I've used Vite. But other than that, most of the other ones I have not used this year. So yeah, that's the thing. Okay, we've got it. Let's run it. Everything wants to run on port 3000. It should work though. Yeah. Welcome to Astro. Whoa. Did it break? Why did that happen? It just got rid of all the styles. Seasoned astronaut, delete this file and have fun. Project structure. Inside of your Astro project, you'll see the following folders and files. Okay. Astro looks for .astro or .md files. Each page is exposed as a route based on its file name. All right. All right. Let's make a little view counter. I guess that would make sense, right? I guess probably the best example with this would be to have multiple components. I don't know. Let's just take a look here. So we've got source. We've got our home page here. You can write any JavaScript or TypeScript that you'd like here. It will run during the build. We do need to install an Astro extension because I'm getting no syntax highlighting. Language support. Let's go. All right, that's better. So, well, oh, they already have a view counter. Are they using it? Oh, there it is. I don't even have to build it. It just works. And thank you, Default GN, for the 4 months, and Arnold for the sub. Much appreciated. Done. Stream over. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to do any custom development here, but it is interesting to see. And I think in future streams, I'd like to explore it more. Like this idea that like you could have a Vue component right here. You could have a React component in here. And then you could just pick and choose. The other thing is like being able to do Markdown. You can literally just have a page that has some Markdown content inside of it. I mean, you could do that in other stuff too, but it seems really easy to do here. Yeah, and it's using Vue 3. Nice. All right, let's see if we can do. We have to see if we can do this. Is it gonna break? Refresh. It still works. And Revolt, Revolt, thank you very much for the 2 months. And Arnold, I thanked Arnold. Thank you, Arnold. So that's cool. So this is a Vue thing that was introduced, if you're not familiar with it, for Vue 3. Instead of having to export an object that has a setup function that returns an object, you can just put setup here, and then it starts to look a lot like something like Svelte. Yeah. I mean, I think I kind of prefer it too, because this sometimes, I don't know. But I like the idea that you literally just define the variables and then those variables become available in the template. I don't know. So, but this is cool. I do want to do a stream in the future where I take a further look at Astro. Because, I mean, look at this. Like, we're importing components. We just have a straight HTML page where you could set any of the meta tags or headers that you'd want to. And, like, the thing that we're not really even highlighting here is how it all runs. Like, how some things get pre-rendered, and seems cool. Seems really cool. we'll take a look at it in the future. Okay. Let's see how our GCC install is doing. Still going. We're still, well, I think we've got all the GCC dependencies. Now we're just waiting on GCC. And Acid Spark with the 21 months. Man, my notifications let me down today. Yeah, we've been here for an hour and a half, Acid Spark. That's unfortunate. I sent a message everywhere. It's on Twitter and Discord and YouTube. But thanks for being here, Acid Spark, and thank you for the 21 months of support. Very much appreciated. Okay, let's see what else is on this list while GCC is installing. Yeah, I think at this point I'm gonna like edit the YouTube video or whatever. There's gonna be a lot of editing. I'm gonna try to make this a somewhat consumable video. It's not just me meandering for an hour. All right, the next section of the list is front-end frameworks. This is a lot of what we do here on the Coding Garden. So we've built a lot of React apps this past year. We've built a lot of Vue apps. We've built some Svelte apps. We've even built some Angular apps. We have not built anything with any of these other things. I think we have taken a look at like Lit and Solid, which are ways to build like web component apps. Yeah, but this is interesting. An interesting note here. For the first time since we've ran JavaScript Rising Stars, React is the #1 UI framework. That's actually surprising to me. Like, I thought React was like #1 last year. I guess they're going by GitHub stars, like how many stars were gained this year. But if you want to take into account that Vue.js is split into 2 repositories, Vue.js is effectively the leader. I wouldn't take that into account because anybody that has starred one Vue repo is going to star the other repo. So it's kind of like double counting your stars. I don't know. And what's up, Electrothermal? Happy Friday to you as well. The big change is the rise of Svelte. Yeah, Svelte at number 3. And Svelte is great. I don't know. Is this the year of Svelte? Is it? Maybe. I think it will be. How popular is Ruby on Rails in recent years? I'm not sure. I'm in the JavaScript world, so I don't really know. Yeah. So Svelte absolutely is a rising star. And yeah, I'm excited to build more Svelte stuff this year. Oh, but this is interesting. An interesting headline though. One of the major headlines is that Rich Harris, the creator of Svelte, is joining the Vercel team. Vercel with the team behind Next.js. So yeah, if you're not familiar with Vercel, we use it a lot here on stream. Actually, oh yeah. It's a way to deploy serverless functions, but also deploy like Next apps and also even static websites. But they are the team behind Next.js, which is the React meta framework that lets you do like server-side rendering or static site generation. And now Rich Harris has joined them. Yeah. Prereqs is just another version of React. So it has the exact same API as React, but it's a little bit smaller. And for a while, people were switching to this when there was like licensing issues with React. Like, it has the exact same API as React. It's just a little bit smaller. Yeah. Let's see. We didn't get to use SvelteKit this year. The fastest way to build Svelte apps. I definitely want to do a stream on this at some point this year, but not today. Cool. So that was all the top front-end frameworks. It will be interesting to take a look at Solid as well, but I'm not going to do it right now. All right, let's see how our compilation is doing. Still going. All right, next up on the list are Node.js frameworks. So yeah, this is where we can talk about like Remix. I know some people were asking about that. So the main UI frameworks have their own meta framework to build modern and scalable applications, providing features like routing, server-side rendering, static generation of pages ahead of time, optimized builds for production. I don't know why I just read that. I just decided to like read the first sentence there. Yeah, so Next.js is at the top. I believe we've done like one simple Next.js app on stream. We haven't built a Nest app. So like Nest is basically like Angular for the back end. and Node.js. We haven't done anything with Strappy on stream. We haven't done anything with Remix. We built like a small Nuxt app. So yeah, this year we can do a lot of exploration of these. I think today we'll just generate a Remix app because that's the new hotness for sure. But yeah, Strappy isn't any particular front-end framework. Like Next is React. Nest isn't a front-end framework at all. It's all back-end. But Strappy is a headless CMS, so it basically allows you to easily create an API that lets you manage content, a content management system. Yeah, let's take a look at Remix. So a full-stack framework to build React applications. It's the newcomer of the category. It's one of the biggest stories of the year. It was created by the authors of React Router, and it was only available to paying supporters until October. Yeah, so if we look at it, it looks like React. So we've got a loader that takes in a request. We've got an action. We've got some projects that just list out the data from the loader. All right. I actually don't even know what Remix does different. I guess it's not that it does anything different, but Remix would be comparable to something like Next.js because it has more opinions about how you should do React. It has opinions about where you put stuff. It has a router built in, that kind of thing. So when I'm thinking about this, I'm kind of thinking about like how things work in Next, but I'm not sure what is different or better about it. So we can load some data, we can render it out. Great. Watch the 100-second video about Remix from Fireship. So you can have MD files. That's cool. Kim, what's up, Kim? Welcome in. First of all, shout out to Kim, but also she streams over on the DigitalOcean channel. Is it DigitalOcean TV? Is that it? I think that's it. You should definitely go drop a follow there. Yeah. Kim does a lot of DevOps stuff, like Kubernetes and all that cool stuff. Yeah. Okay. What are we doing? We're trying to figure out. Mainly, I want to know, how is Remix different than something like Next.js, and like how can I demonstrate that easily after generating? Yeah, streaming null and null. So that's how the bot works. Like if you haven't streamed recently, it'll just say that. But she streams on this channel here. DevOps, yeah. Does anybody know? Can somebody point me in the right direction? Like what makes Remix so good? It has a cooler name. All right, we're gonna watch the Fireship video so we can see. I'm hoping that he will tell us why we should use it. Can I easily get the audio? Give me a second. Wait, this is a 9-minute video. Probably like data fetching and form actions might make it better. All right, give me a second.
Today, a new JavaScript framework is born, and this day in history is no exception. Yesterday, the team behind React Router released their new framework, Remix, as a free and open source project. To be fair, this framework has actually been around for over a year, but you probably didn't use it because they were charging $250 for a license to use it.
And that's actually now a very low price.
Fortunately for us cheap developers, they changed their business model. It's now free and open source with an MIT license. In today's video, you'll get to feel the experience of a premium JavaScript framework. We'll compare it to other React-based frameworks like
The experience of a premium JavaScript framework.
like Next.js and Gatsby, and most importantly, try to figure out when and why you would want to use Remix.
That's what I'm interested in, like why?
If you're new here, like and subscribe, and stay tuned for a special surprise video this Friday with a new course announcement and discount. First of all, what is Remix and why would I want to use it? It's a React-based framework that allows you to render code on the server, which tends to result in better performance and search engine optimization, as opposed to using React only on the client side. This is nothing new and a problem that's already been solved by frameworks like Next.js. However, Remix goes about...
I watched this video a while back. I think one of the main things is like it makes nested routing really easy, and you can create like sub-components that will get rendered as like sub-routes.
It in a slightly different way that I think you'll find very interesting. It actually feels kind of old school in a way that might feel familiar to a PHP or Ruby on Rails developer. The first interesting point is that it only does server-side rendering. It doesn't do static site generation or incremental static regeneration like Next.js does. That's kind of interesting because Jamstack applications that use static generation...
That is interesting. Why? So one of the benefits of using something like Next.js is that you get static site generation. You get something that isn't fully server rendered. I don't know why I'm being so critical. I just want to know why
have been very popular in recent years and also tend to be the fastest time to first byte when it comes to performance. And they're really easy to deploy because you're only dealing with static files. The main drawback though is that you have to rebuild those pages whenever the data changes. With Remix, you're not building Jamstack applications. It goes all in on server-side rendering, which means that you'll have to have an actual server to run the application. But at the same time, it'll be much more well suited for handling dynamic data. To me, it looks like Remix would be ideal for an application that has a lot of pages.
Yeah, quick shout out to our friend. I mean, he doesn't know me, but you should definitely subscribe to Fireship on YouTube and watch this video on your computer so the view counter goes up. He's great. It's super informative, well-edited videos. Yeah, check him out.
And all those pages rely on some dynamic data that lives in a database somewhere. But it might be overkill if you're just building a blog that you post to once a year. Let's go ahead and initialize a new project from the command line, and you'll notice how it does this cool rainbow animation. Totally unnecessary, but it tricks my brain into thinking this framework must be really good. As we set up the project, notice how it provides a bunch of different back-end servers that can help streamline deployment. I'm going to choose Express, then...
Did I say Firebase? Fireship. He used to do a lot of Firebase videos. And he's got jokes. He's definitely got some jokes. All right. We're gonna follow along to his video. So we're gonna do npx create remix at latest. Does it create a directory? Let's see.
Tricks my brain into thinking this framework must be really good. As we set up the project, notice how it provides...
Oh yeah, so it's gonna create a directory. And GCC is still installing. Okay. So we do npx create remix latest. Let's go. Fireship with a P. Fireship. There's that rainbow. All right. Remix example. Okay, let's hear what he has to say.
But it tricks my brain into thinking this framework must be really good. As we set up the project, notice how it provides a bunch of different back-end servers that can help streamline deployment. I'm going to choose Express, then when we open the project, you'll notice that we're met with a fairly simple file structure. In the server directory, we have an Express.js app. The only thing it requires from Remix is the createRequestHandler function. This function takes an incoming request from a user and renders the React code on the server with Remix, and then sends a response back to the user. It's also worth noting that Remix doesn't necessarily need Node.js and could work on other runtimes like Deno. And you'll also notice the Express app is configured with caching, telling the server to send a cached response unless the underlying data has changed. That's pretty cool, but all the interesting stuff is going on in the app directory. Here we have a routes directory, and any component inside of it will be mapped to a URL based on the file structure, which is the exact same way that it works in Next.js. One minor difference is that dynamic routes start with a $sign versus brackets in Next.js. But there is one very important difference that could be a game changer for certain types of apps, and that's a feature called nested routes. Whenever you have a route nested under a parent, the child will automatically inherit the UI of the parent. If you've ever used a framework like Angular or Ember.js, you should recognize this pattern. Here's how it works. You have a parent component, like in this case the About page, then somewhere in the UI you have a router outlet. This outlet will be replaced with a child component based on the URL you navigate to. In this case, we have an About directory with...
Okay, I think that's one of the main things is the... Oh, okay. So this is honestly just watch the Fireship video. I'm gonna generate an app so we can look at the source code, but just watch the Fireship video to get an idea for how this thing works. But first of all, nested routing, really cool. Second of all, what he's about to demonstrate is that like if one of your lower level routes errors out, the entire page doesn't error out, just that one nested component.
It will render,
which is really cool. And yeah, and then he talks about loaders as well, so you can use async data. Yeah, and I guess that's another interesting thing is that the form submits, I believe, there is no event prevent default, I don't think, because it does like an actual post. Yeah, it does an actual post to the server. Yeah. Yeah. Nested routes, yeah. So he's coming to that conclusion that nested routes and actions are one of the things. Okay, so definitely watch his video on Remix. I am going to generate an app just so that we can look at the source code. Let's do an Express server with JavaScript. No need to run npm install. And we'll just take a look at the code itself. So we've got the main entry point. Like, this is cool to me because you technically could create all the API routes you wanted with Express, and now they're just integrated with your server rendered portion. Though if you're doing server rendering, why would you even need API routes? I don't know. And then app has a lot less than his did. I guess he might have created some custom components. Got some inline styles. That's fun. It would work without JavaScript enabled too, for sure, because it's doing like full-on server-side rendering. You don't need JavaScript, so that's a thing. But everything runs JavaScript. I don't know why you wouldn't want that. I don't know. Seems fine. We'll have to try and build an app with Remix at some point this year. Okay. GCC is still installing. So we'll wait on that. Let's see if there's anything else we should talk about in here. Yeah, Strappy is cool. It's funny to me that we're going through this list because a lot of this I haven't even used in 2021. I mean, ultimately, this is like a list of things that I want to try in 2022 instead of things that I used in 2021. I mean, which makes sense because I'm usually only using like one front-end framework or one back-end framework. I'm not using a bunch of stuff, and I don't switch between things often on a given project. I mean, I'll start a project with something, it'll stay that. I don't know. All right, let's take a look at build tools. So we already talked about Vite, which is based on ESBuild. And then this is an interesting aspect as well. So front-end tools that are built in other languages, like, so right now we're installing GCC so that we can try out Tari. So Tari is built in Rust, but it's going to let us build a web app, which is interesting. And people are telling me that this is stuck. I don't think it's stuck. It's making, right? It's compiling, right? Right? I don't know why that one's taking so long, but yeah. Yeah, and Lee Robinson wrote an article, Rust is the future of JavaScript infrastructure. Rust is particularly interesting because of its great performances and interoperability with JavaScript. Yeah. Parcel 2 was released with a Rust compiler? I didn't know that. Yeah, so that's another thing to think about and talk about in the JavaScript world is like Rust is being heavily used and will probably be used even more in 2022. Cool. All right, this is my section, the Vue ecosystem section. And so yeah, I showed you earlier this script setup syntax, which is really neat for Vue 3. What else? We've got Nuxt, Quasar, and VitePress. Yeah, I think so. One thing that was interesting to me this year is that like it took a really long time. I don't even know if it's still there, but like the default in the docs is still version 2, right? Like we didn't reach a point where everyone is already migrated and using version 3 of Vue.js, which is unfortunate. I'm hoping at least that'll happen this year. Like there are a lot of like really popular Vue component libraries and things you would use with Vue weren't getting updated quickly to be used with Vue 3. So like, for example, what's that material framework for Vue? Vuetify. Did they reach version 3? The current version of Vuetify does not support Vue 3. Yeah, so, I mean, it's a big endeavor to upgrade everything, because I mean if you look at the number of components just in Vuetify, like there's a lot, so it's gonna take a while. But it's interesting to me that there's a lot of other projects in a similar situation that haven't really been upgraded to fully support Vue 3 yet, and hopefully we'll get there this year. Yeah, and Conflicts is asking, do I think it's necessary to be building vanilla JS projects before jumping into React to differentiate between React code and JS techniques? First of all, yes. So I used to teach coding, and I taught a lot of beginners, and they would be confused when we started writing React code because they couldn't tell the difference between what was React code versus what was just JavaScript. So yeah, I very much am of the opinion that you should really understand and differentiate between the two, because if you can, you're going to have a lot easier time debugging and Googling things, because you know that one thing is just a JavaScript problem versus being a React problem. Yeah. So I think so. I think it is important to get a solid foundation in JavaScript before you jump into React. So yeah. Yeah. Keep your Rust away from JavaScript. Rust is just C++ without being C++, yeah. That would be interesting if that happened, if the Svelte compiler got written in Rust. And Dusty is currently coding Rust, so nice. Does Next.js use Rust? I don't know. Yeah, how to follow this new stuff. So that's, I mean, you don't have to. I think that's the thing is like, as we're going through this list, we're seeing so many things that I didn't even know about in 2021. It's now 2022 and I'm just reading about them. So for me, this is a list of things that I'm going to potentially use in 2022. But and also I just learned about this website, but bestofjs.org gives you a rundown of hot projects, up and coming projects based on their number of GitHub stars. So that would help you keep track of things. Also, you don't have to keep track of any of this. Like, if you know how to build websites and you can make money building websites the way you know how to make websites, then you don't have to learn anything new, because you can just keep doing what you're doing. You don't have to always be using the latest and greatest stuff. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Once we have GCC installed, we won't have to install it again. So, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know that they've been actively working on it, but yeah, it's in beta. It's not completely released yet. It's going to take some time. And Prime View does support Vue 3, but that just has to do with how they wrote their components to begin with. Like why they were able to support Vue 3 so fast. Like with Vuetify, it's essentially almost a rewrite of a lot of components, because Vuetify is doing a lot of lower level things that had breaking changes in Vue 3. Whereas like the code that you're using to use Vuetify may not have had any breaking changes, but the library itself had breaking changes. Yeah. Yeah. It's the year 2065. Sir, we found this old electronic artifact. It seems to be still working. Let me check it out. It seems to be trying to install a new compiler. Are you talking about this? My machine is going to be installing GCC until 2065? Yeah. What JS backend technologies do I regularly use at work? Node.js and Feathers. And I only get to use Feathers because I make the decisions. Feathers is really cool. There's a lot of libraries that I like that aren't as popular as I think they should be. But if you're building backend applications with Express, Feathers is just going to make it so much easier, and you get real-time for free. So if you're trying to build a real-time app, Feathers helps a lot with that. One of the other things I use at work that isn't that popular, but I think should be, is this Easy Peasy library. So we use React on the front end. And we used to have this gigantic Redux boilerplate. And we used to use like sagas and stuff like that. But Easy Peasy just makes it so easy to get up and going in a React app with like global state management. So behind the scenes, this is using Redux. It has great TypeScript support. And I believe for a while this had more stars than Zustand. Zustand that apparently is pretty popular, but Easy Peasy in my mind is easier than Zustand and does a lot more for you than Zustand. So I don't know. I use unpopular things, but it's because they make things easier. I use things that make it so that I have to write less code and make my job easier. That's what I like. I don't like writing a lot of boilerplate and a lot of code. Is there a mobile equivalent of Electron? Yeah, Ionic. Ionic JS is one of them. But really the thing you want to search for is hybrid mobile framework. You'll find a bunch of others as well, but Ionic is one of the most popular. But it basically lets you use web technologies to build mobile apps, and then under the hood it's using Capacitor JS. Capacitor JS, which is essentially a replacement for Cordova, but it's from Capacitor is from the same team as Ionic, but you can use them separately. So technically, like you could, and actually Ionic gives you a component library for React, Vue, and Angular, so you could pick and choose. But also you could just not use Ionic and only use Capacitor. But if you look at their plugins, these are an example of all of the like native things you can do from within a web app. So for example, let's look at like push notifications. So once you've installed it and set it up, then it's just JavaScript. So you just import it in your component. Where can we see an example? Yeah, like you import, and then you can use like all these functions, but it has native access. Yeah, so Capacitor is cool, and Ionic is cool. The year's 2600. We've colonized Mars and half the galaxy. GCC is still not installed. I mean, it could be stuck. I don't know how to check if it's stuck. So we may not be able to check out Tari today. Yeah, and Dusty is saying about Rust, when you're coming from the front end side, you may not be able to use a strongly typed language. So it's a bit of a learning curve. Yeah, I mean, I've seen other people write Rust. I haven't written any Rust myself. And it's very different. Yeah, so it would definitely, there's probably a learning curve if you're coming from the JavaScript world. What's the difference between Nest and Feathers? Nest has a lot more opinions. And Nest, I do believe it doesn't have as much built in terms of like the data adapters that Feathers has. Maybe it does. I don't know too much about Nest. But like with Feathers, it's based on this idea of services. And if you install a database adapter for, let's say, like connects or objection, then you can instantly spin up a service that gives you create, read, update, and delete on a given database table without any extra code. You just instantiate the service, and all of that database plumbing and queries is just built in. If you want to modify it or customize it, you can, but you get it for free. I don't know if they have a similar thing in Nest. Yeah, we use React at my work. I work on any serverless technology using a public cloud provider. Not really for anything I'm doing at work. Most of the stuff we do is on like AWS Lightsail or AWS EC2. We haven't really done any like Lambda functions or anything. Yeah. And I use TypeScript at work. Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing. Another thing, like Pinya has taken over Vuex, but Vuex is already easy. So Pinya is a library that came out for Vue.js for managing state. Let's look at a quick example of it. So we're making a store, give it a name. We have some state, we have some actions, and then we can use it in our component. Great. How is this any better than just using Vuex? Like, you can do the exact same thing with Vuex. Right? A comparison. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the aspects is you can use Pinya in non-Vue.js projects, can't you? Or something like that? I don't know. What's the easy peasy for Vue? Is just Vue. You don't need an external library to do easy global state management with Vue. You just use Vuex and it's easy to use. Cordova, yeah. Well, is that what it's called? Yeah, Apache Cordova is similar to Capacitor, but I think Apache Cordova is being deprecated. Is Redux and other state management libraries based on the Saga pattern? They're not all based on Sagas. Sagas is you can get like Redux Saga, but not all of them are based on that pattern. Yeah. I'll look into Feathers. Just joined a US-based startup in last September. My CTO, for some reason, has a huge crush on .NET, so he built the bigger part of our backend in .NET Core. We have 1 or 2 microservices in Node. I'm a Node fan, personally. Would try to push some new stuff in his mind. Suggestions? Yeah, I mean, Node and Feathers is cool. It depends on what you're doing. Like, if you are doing React stuff, maybe use Next.js. If you're doing Vue stuff, you could use Nuxt.js. I believe Feathers does have an integration with Nuxt. So that's a thing. Also, .NET Core is cool. Like, I've done some .NET Core stuff recently, and they've come a long way, and they've got a lot of cool stuff that you can do. And it's statically typed out of the box. You don't have to like fiddle with TypeScript configurations or anything like that. If you were trying to do similar things in the JavaScript world, I don't know. I would say stick with .NET. .NET is cool, and like things like Entity Framework makes it really easy to integrate with databases in .NET. I mean, I've yet to find a good JavaScript library that makes things as easy as something like Entity Framework in .NET. I don't know. .NET is nice. It's just really good. Well, EasyBeasy is also using Redux. Why would you use that when Redux Toolkit exists? Because it's easier. It's easier than Redux Toolkit. If you look at Redux Toolkit, there's still technically a lot of boilerplate. So you have to set up your, look at all this. That's too much boilerplate. I'm not going to copy and paste this into my app when with something like easy peasy, I literally just import it and use it. I'm sorry, I got so excited. I didn't mean to say it like that. But it's too much. It's too much. And still, like with Redux Toolkit, you're still creating a reducer function and all this stuff. With something like easy peasy, like maybe I didn't give it a good enough look at it. Okay, let me show you. There are no action types. There are no like reducers. You just write the code, right? So I create a store, I have some initial state, and then I have an action which can modify that state. That's it. That's how I want to build apps. I don't want all the other boilerplate. This is literally all the code you need for that. If you were using just Redux, you would need a reducer with an add to do action. You'd have to do like an action creator with a dispatch. You couldn't modify state like this. You'd have to create a copy of state. This behind the scenes is using Imer.js, which gives you immutable data structures, but you can work with them as if they were mutable. But I don't have to configure that. It's all happening behind the scenes. I don't know why I'm getting so fired up, but easy peasy is nice. It's a lot less boilerplate. Oh, my fan has stopped spinning. Does that mean it's done? No. Okay. We'll do a Clash of Code, and then when Clash of Code, when the Clash of Code is over, if it's not, if this isn't done yet, then we'll probably wrap it up and pick like a few last things to talk about. It can take around 45 minutes when compiling GCC. Let's take a quick stretch. Lemon squeezy, is that a thing? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So I'm not streaming from this computer. There's not a lot. Oh, anyone notice how that happened? I think it's because I was banging on the table. But yeah, I'm not streaming from this computer. I'm streaming from another computer. So I don't know. I could check CPU usage. Make 0% CPU usage, about 4 megabytes of memory. Well, there's multiple makes. Ah! I don't know. And what's up, Oxido? Thanks for being here. Control-C restart. No way a successful install is going to take that long. I mean, maybe? How well or easy is it to scale using feathers? So scaling WebSockets isn't easy. But I will tell you, if you're using feathers, you can take a look at their specifically their cookbook, and then I thought they had they have a section on scaling. And this shows you how you would potentially scale, because if it's using real time with WebSockets, you're going to need some sort of way to sync between the instances. So you can check this out. I personally haven't done it, but yeah. Vuex has no TypeScript support? I guess, yeah, I mean, that's a good point. But I think it's getting better. I mean, not that it doesn't have no TypeScript support. It does have TypeScript support, but it may not be the best. And if Pinya offers something better, How could you use OOP with Express? You just do it. So you could have a like a controller object that has methods like in a controller class that has methods like create, read, update, delete. And then you would just need to map those methods to routes. You could do it. I believe in you. What's this? It's from Evan Yu. Is that Evan Yu? Yeah. Pinya is de facto Vue.x5. At this point, it's really a naming branding issue. Okay, so I mean that gets to my point of like, why would you even do this if you're going to use Vuex? But if it's going to replace Vuex, fine. Like I don't have to choose at that point. Yeah, it's fine. That makes sense. And what's up, Josiah? Welcome in. It's like 5 minutes behind on chat. Yeah. So here's the thing. I mean, I'm going to get fired up again about easy peasy. Like, I don't see how you can disagree with how easy this is. Like, comparatively, if you've ever written a React Redux app and you know how much usually goes into being able to do something like this, I don't know how you can disagree. And then it's extremely easy to bring global state and global actions into any component you want to. And it has really good TypeScript support. I don't know. So this is I think the person that asked about .NET earlier. So we have NoSQL in the backend. Your backend dev, so is our CTO. We're both backend oriented. So I was looking for some good suggestions on Node for backend. The thing is, like, you want types. So like if you're gonna be using Node, you probably would use something like TypeScript, which is why I say just use .NET Core altogether. But Feathers.js is really cool. There are other things like Sales.js, which is like Rails.js but for Node. So that's something to check out. There's also like Loopback. Yeah, I think in my 2 streams ago, we did a Q&A, and I was talking about backend frameworks. So if you go look at that, you'll see more suggestions on stuff you can use for the backend. What about async actions? In easy peasy, those are just called thunks. And so instead of using this action helper, you use a thunk helper, and then you can do async await inside of here. That's it. We can show in here tutorials, quick start. So yeah, so these little helpers come in from easy peasy. And so an action typically just modifies state. A thunk can do async things and then can call actions from inside of it. So this allows you to do an async request, and then after it's completed, you can fire off an action with the data. That's it. That's all you need. It's nothing special. CJ, it's me from the future. You have to stop this GCC compiler before it's too late. The world counts on you. All right. After I finish scrolling, I moved the camera before the fire shit video. Does that mean you all this has been wait over here? This has been, you've saw that for like a really long time? That's unfortunate. And I Watch Naked, I think I missed that. Thank you for the gifts. Yeah, thank you for the gift sub. Much appreciated. And Decallers, thank you for the 5 months. Okay. We're gonna restart the install. I'm gonna do it. Yeah. Oh, and then that'll give me the pre-compiled one. I'm about it. Let's do it. Do I use UML, and do I think it should be used? I use like a database diagramming. I don't know if it's specific. I don't think it's UML. But diagrams for a large database, in my opinion, are useful, very useful for your team and project documentation. For diagramming like object relations in your code, or pre-diagramming before you write the code, it could be useful, but I never do it. I mean, though, I mean, the way I see it is, why spend all the time writing the diagram when you could just be writing the code that you could then generate a diagram from, right? I don't know. Piña. Yeah, like a piña colada, for sure. Yeah, so that's the other aspect of easy peasy that I haven't. I mean, here I am just all about easy peasy, but because it's using Redux behind the scenes, if you have code that looks like this, that's all the code you write, and then you bring it into your component. If you open the Redux DevTools, you're going to see an initial state action. You're going to see an add to do action. So it automatically creates all of the real Redux stuff behind the scenes, so you get like time travel debugging. Does Zustand do that? Or Redux DevTools? Yeah, you can set it up with Zustand. But with easy peasy, there's no setup code. It just happens automatically. Oh, all of the questions on Vox get wiped every time I start a question and answer stream. If not all of them. If they're older than, I think, 2 weeks, they go away. Yeah. I should react to this. Can someone tell me what that link is? Maybe I'll click it. GCC has no bottle. Oh no! Oh no! Let's just try again. I have not tried Windows 11. No. And Gochuni, thank you for the Prime sub. And Zaki, thank you for the Prime sub as well. I'm gonna use easy peasy. You convinced me. All right. I don't know. So, and I think I've been using version 3. I don't know what the major difference is in version 4. But it's cool. It's nice. I like it. Yeah, no problems, BTR. But I mean, the other aspect of it, like, it depends on what kind of a company you work for, and also like how they do things, because a lot of companies might actually want to do things like the documentation of the UML diagram and thinking it out before writing the code, and because that's just how they've done things for a very long time. Whereas like I see it as not as productive as actually writing the code. I don't know. Yeah. The year is 2877. All humanity has moved into quantum computers. It's all thanks that people started using easy peasy. Yeah. So is it just Zustand or Zustand? That's how you'd pronounce it in German, right? Zustand? Yeah, we talked about Faker at the beginning of the stream. Okay, I've caught up on chat. I restarted it, and we're at the same place we were earlier. What do I think is the best content management system? I don't have a lot of experience with them, but Strappy, if you're in the Node.js world, Strappy looks really good. Sharp Z? Zustand? Zustand. 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 And hello, Sukum. Welcome in. What's up, Sarah? Yeah. That's the hard Z. Zustand. A CMS is a content management system. Yeah. All right, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to try Tari today. So I'm just going to skim through the rest of this article and do a quick wrap up. Here we go. So the next section is the React ecosystem. And in important news, React 18 is going to be released soon. We used a lot of React this year. Of these other libraries in the React ecosystem, I haven't used Ant Design, but I have used a lot of MUI, and we saw earlier about Remix. So that's cool. And then if we look at CSS and JavaScript, I've never heard of this library, Vanilla Extract. Let's take a look. 0 runtime style sheets in TypeScript. What? Okay. Create your styles in a .css.ts file. Okay. Create a theme. Create some styles. Then consume in your markup. Yeah, so it generates the class names. That's cool. The thing is, this looks a lot like CSS in JS, right? With the camel-cased property names and like using JavaScript variables for the values. So this kind of like CSS in JS for TypeScript. And I guess because it is TypeScript, they can type all of these things. So like you can get editor completion. So if you're typing color, then it's going to give you potential options or things like that. Yeah. It's from the CSS. Yeah, but I'm specifically talking about the library called CSS in JS, which is different than some of the other things on that list, because that list also has things like styled components or emotion, which are different than CSS in JS. Yeah, so I'm specifically talking about this library, which I use. It's one of my preferred ways to do it in React, to do styles in React. But ultimately, you define your styles, say create use styles, it gives you back a hook, and then you can use that hook in here to give you your class names, which is different from like styled components or CSS modules, that kind of thing. Oh, I want to get rid of that. Cool. 0 runtime style sheets. And yeah, so I think it really is just CSS and JS for TypeScript, which is cool. Yeah, and so CSS and JS is what Material UI used to use by default. They switched over to, I believe, Emotion. So yeah, so that's cool. If you look in testing, Playwright is number 1. I haven't used Playwright, but let's take a look at it. Playwright enables reliable end-to-end testing for modern web apps. Cool, 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 cool. Cool. Is it like Puppeteer? We can install it. We can write a test. So go to this specific URL, find this element, and then expect. Yeah, it's a lot like Cypress. Why is it better than Cypress? I don't know. Seems cool. All right. For mobile, we've got React Native, Ionic, and Expo. I've talked about Ionic in this stream. We've done a little bit of React Native before, but yeah, because it's new. Yeah. I mean, but how's it better? Is it better? I don't know. It is from Microsoft though. Yeah, Cypress is great. Yeah. So for desktop, we've got Tari and Electron. We're trying to get Tari going, but I can't get GCC installed. I mean, at this point, I probably could just do like a Docker container with GCC inside of it. That would have been a whole lot easier. Oh well. For static site generation, we talked about Next. We talked about Astro. Docosaurus has a cool icon. Let's see what they're about. Build optimized websites quickly. Focus on your content. GCC is the GNU C compiler, right? That's what it stands for. What is GCC? The Gulf Cooperation Council. The GNU Compilers Collection. Okay. Compiler Collection. That makes sense. Yeah, Docosaurus seems fine. Anything else of note we should talk about from this list? Let's see. I mean, here's state management. Is easy peasy even on this list? It's not. It's not on this list. But Zustand is at the top, which seems fine. But my note to you is, if you're going to consider using something like Zustand, try easy peasy instead. Yeah. I don't want a burger. I appreciate your offering, though. Thanks. Did someone check out that YouTube link that was sent earlier? The GraphQL ecosystem. We haven't done really much GraphQL on this stream. I think if we do, we'll probably try out Prisma. And we haven't tried out Hasura, but Hasura is really cool because it like instantly wraps your Postgres database with a GraphQL API. So yeah. Okay, so that's it for the rising stars of 2021 in the JavaScript world. Yeah, thanks for watching. One day this GCC will finish installing, and then we can try out Tari and Rust. It seems cool. I'll probably do a stream on it in the future and just building an app with it. So yeah, that's the thing. Thank you everyone for watching, and definitely check out these websites by Michael Rambo. The Best of JS, which is risingstars.js.org, and then Best of JS, which is bestofjs.js.org, or no, bestofjs.org. You'll find it. All the links in the description. See ya. All right, that's gonna be a YouTube video. I'm gonna do some heavy editing, and yeah, so that's a thing. All right, I gotta go. I appreciate you all for hanging out. And like I said, check out both of these websites. This is where we got all of our stuff from today. And my next stream is planned for next Friday. So is that the 14th? Yeah, January 14th. If I'm up early enough, it'll be around the same time. Otherwise, it will be starting at around this time next Friday. We'll see. But yeah, thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for all your comments, suggestions. Thank you for all your support. Tons of resubs and gifted subs and subs today. Appreciate you all. And stick around for the raid. We're going to raid somebody. Yeah, I'll let you know next stream if GCC has finished installing yet. So if you're a sub, you can use that raid message. If you're not a sub, you can use this raid message. Also, if you're not a sub and you're just a follower, you can use this emote for free. If you follow, you can use that emote. You can also just come up with your own raid messages like that. Cool. Did my battery just make it to 100%? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know who we're going to raid, but whoever we raid, show them lots of love. Drop a follow if you like what they're doing. All that good stuff. And wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. And until next time, here's this.